Hello everyone, TimeToGrind here, and today I wanted to talk about the December 20th, 2018 update to Artifact. And I know I've been trying to make less Artifact videos just because I would rather cover more of just general gaming industry as a whole, because that's what I like doing. And as much as I love Artifact, I mean, it's eating up so much of my time. It's my favorite game right now. You know, if I talk about Artifact, I'm not talking about something else that I could be. But the reason I wanted to talk about it today is because there has been so huge, massive changes to Artifact, and it kind of applies to just the gaming industry as a whole, and I felt like I really wanted to talk about it. And so what is the December 20th, 2018 update to Artifact? Well, it is the skill rating, leveling, and balance update. And to give you a preface, if you haven't been following or playing Artifact at all, Artifact came out 3 weeks ago, and although the core gameplay, you know, people universally just praise the core gameplay for the most part, and it's honestly one of my favorite card games, if not the best card game I have ever played, you know, and I've gushed about it a bunch in my review, but it was met with a decent amount of backlash on launch. And some of the biggest issues, the biggest issue most likely, was the payment model. And so if you don't know, the game's $20, you get $20 worth of packs, and then what they're trying to do is they're trying to, you know, replicate the paper card game model where you can't really earn cards for free. You have to buy them, and then you can buy and sell them to other people. So you have the whole market where you can buy and sell singles, and, you know, you can buy packs, but there's not really a free way to earn packs. I mean, you have the tickets, and you can play the prize events that can win you packs, and if you're good enough, you can just keep winning packs, which is what I've been doing. But overall, there wasn't really a actual for sure way to earn free packs, and so a lot of people had an issue with that. And, you know, I've kind of defended it a little bit in the past, and, you know, because I do think Artifact is the most affordable card game, whether it's paper or video game, as long as, you know, you're a paying customer. If you're trying to play free to play this game, you can't really play free to play, and I understand that it's a pretty bad negative. And I do agree with what a lot of people are saying, where you know, they really could have revolutionized the, you know, card game genre as a whole. They could have made all cards free and then just monetize by you know, cosmetics and stuff like that, and that would have been nice. And I think when I've defended Artifact in the past, it's just been because it's been more affordable for paying customers compared to other card games. But I feel like I am now starting to understand what other people are talking about, in which, you know, just because other games are bad doesn't give Artifact the excuse to have a pretty bad payment model. And, you know, that's just what it comes down to. But overall, that game, or, you know, the game got a decent amount of backlash for that. And then it felt like a couple of the features were missing. So we were missing chat, even though there was a chat keybind in the game, so it just felt like it just was unfinished. There wasn't a shown MMR progression system, so there was technically a hidden MMR in some of the modes, but you couldn't see it, so you didn't really have a sense of progression and, oh, okay, I'm getting better, I can see my skill increasing and stuff like that. So there wasn't that. There wasn't, like I said, any way to earn free cards or even cosmetics. There wasn't any other progression system, which, although I don't personally think that you know, games should need to have it. You should play a game because it's fun. It only helps. It only helps because there's a lot of players that want progression systems like that, and you know, that it's just helpful. And another thing is, the game had a couple pretty interestingly powerful cards, and in particular Axe and Drow. So Axe was just really strong because of its stats, and Drow is just a really strong card. She's strong stats. Her passive just gives all other, you know, heroes or all other allies in all lanes +1 attack, and her signature was the main problem, and it just silenced all enemy heroes in the lane, which just, if you play that first, they literally cannot play any cards in that lane. So there were a lot of, you know, controversy going on with these cards because they weren't broken, but they were clearly stronger than every other hero. And previously, we have heard Valve say that they don't really ever want to buff cards at all, and they rarely want to nerf cards. And that was another issue, because we're like, okay, well, we have these really strong cards, and what Valve has told us before is they don't want to nerf cards that often, and they don't really ever want to buff cards. And so there was just a lot of things going on that just Artifact was met with a lot of backlash. And last week they put out an update that fixed a couple things, but one of the biggest things was they added chat, and the chat is actually so cool. Every card you play, including the heroes, have a chat wheel, and they can say like 10 different things, and they actually voice them. Like, there are voice lines for them. So even creeps, you know, I have like this little rhino looking dude, and I do the chat wheel. There's like 5 different options, and they're all different roars and growls and stuff like that. And then all the heroes have like 10 different chat. It's amazing. That part is awesome. But the December 20th, 2018 update is what we are talking about. And the biggest thing they are doing here, I think the biggest and most impactful thing is card balance. And I just want to read a good chunk of this because it's just so refreshing to hear. And card balance. A common pattern in physical card games is to design around the goal of never changing cards and to only make card changes or bans in extremely rare cases. Our initial approach to the game was to follow this type of methodology and keep balancing changes as a last resort, in a large part because we thought players valued immutability very highly. Since the release of Artifact, there have been a lot of discussions surrounding this topic. Input came in many forms, some from online discussions, some from direct feedback with players, and some through discussions among our own team members. This caused us to take a step back and spend a bunch of time debating the merits of the different arguments presented. In the end, we struggled to see the benefits of immutability outweighing the numerous downsides. The average player mainly wants the game quality to be high above all other considerations. Players who focus a lot on deck building would prefer a more diverse and engaging meta to play around, while some card collectors enjoy having a small number of really valuable cards. Many others are happier in a world where the full set value isn't overly dominated by one or two cards. Further consideration also made us realize it was the wrong approach from the development side. An extremely high bar for making iterations will indirectly cause future set development to be worse off. Long-term set creativity will suffer if we are reluctant to try new ideas because of fears around not being able to make adjustments. Our conclusion was that embracing ongoing card balance for a digital game has a lot more upsides for the game as a whole. Once we shifted over to this new mindset, it became obvious to us that it was a more natural fit with how we tend to develop games. Starting with today's update, we will be taking an incremental approach to balancing, with the primary goal being to improve the gameplay quality over time. New set expansions will undoubtedly cause bigger meta shifts, but we'll use incremental balancing between sets as a way to make sure the gameplay quality is as good as it can be. We think player activity and demand is by far the biggest factor for overall card value, so we expect this to be a net positive for everyone over the long term. We also believe the marketplace remains valuable as a whole, as some changes will cause some cards to go down in value and indirectly cause others to go up. However, we realized that players had a different expectation when buying from the marketplace, and so as a result we'll allow a one-time buyback exception for the next 2 weeks. Any player that previously purchased today's changed cards from the marketplace can now visit this link to learn how to sell the cards directly back to us for what their peak selling price was in the 24 hours prior to this announcement. The sellback process will begin tomorrow, December 21st. So it's a lot to unpack just in the card balance side of things. But overall, what they're saying is, before, like they've talked about before, they were trying to have the mindset of don't really balance cards if you don't have to, unless it's a last resort. And, with a lot of the backlash they were getting and a lot of the feedback they were getting, just talking about, how people really wanted the game to be, they've completely flipped their mindset and their entire way they're focusing and how they're going to develop Artifact. I mean, they even said they are going to have constant little small, balance changes. Obviously, the expansions will have bigger meta shifts like they said, but they're going to have incremental balancing between sets just to make sure the gameplay is good and fresh. And that's amazing. And it shows just how much they're listening. And, like I said before, I think Valve truly is a company that actually cares about their games. They don't have to listen to shareholders. They don't have to do anything like that. All they care about is making their games good and making money, obviously, but it does feel like they actually care. And this is just a huge step in the right direction. So what did they change? Did they change well? Did they actually listen? And that's what's good, because literally every card that got changed is exactly the way the community wanted it changed. So let's look at Axe. Axe's big thing was his stats. So he was a 7-11, so 7 attack, 11 health, 2 armor, and now he is 6 attack, 2 armor, and 10 health. So it doesn't look like that big of stat changes, but the biggest thing there is the attack. Most heroes, especially blue heroes, have 7 health, and so by having Axe have 7 health, he was just constantly being able to kill people, especially on the flop. Now he can't, but he's still stupid strong. And then what did they do to Drow? Well, Drow, before the Gust said silence enemy heroes this round, and now the new one says silence an enemy hero and its allied neighbors this round, which is exactly what the community wanted. They were fine with the Gust mechanics, but it shouldn't apply to the whole lane. So now it just applies to the hero and then its neighbors, and that's awesome. And they also, a big thing was cheating death, which is a card that it used to say if there is an allied green hero in this lane, allies have a 50% chance of surviving with 1 health when they would die, which is stupid because you could use removal and they might not just die. So now it's a little cheaper, and it says give a unit a death shield this round may only be used if there is an allied green hero in this lane, and it's so much better. It's just less frustrating of a card. And then on top of that, they buffed a couple cards. So buffed Lion, and instead of just increasing its stats or increasing its damage or anything like that, they added a entirely new keyword, because before his ability was deal 8 piercing damage to a unit, and now it deals 8 piercing damage to a unit, and it has quicken, and quicken means it reduces its cooldown by 1 but not below 1. So it literally just, it changes what Lion is, because he can just constantly, you know, as the longer he's out, the Finger of Death can be used more and more and more and more, and that's awesome. And you know, Timbersaw, they added a special new thing on his, and all this stuff, they buffed a bunch of cards, and it's really great. And you know, it's refreshing to see, because not only is it refreshing to see a company be like, okay, you know, we made a mistake, we'll fix it, because that does happen, but they're just straight up saying the philosophy we were trying to take into this game is we're changing it completely. The entire philosophy of how we're developing this game is changing, and it's really refreshing to hear. And on top of that, that's not all we got with this update. Like I said before, another part of the backlash that you know, Artifact had to deal with when it first came out was the fact that you could not earn free cards at all in the game for the most part. And now there is a progression system. You have an account level, and you level up just by playing any of the matchmaking. So whether it's draft or, you know, the Called Arms event or anything like that, you level up, and overall you can earn about 15 free packs and 15 tickets this season. So it might be more, it might be less in the future, we'll have to see, but 15 free packs per season is, I mean, it's such a big change from them saying, yeah, we're not going to give free packs out at all. And on top of that, that's just going to make the market get super cheap as well, because even more people are going to have even more packs that they're not having to pay for, so the card prices are going to go down, and that's amazing. And it just, it makes you feel like you're accomplishing something slowly just by leveling up, and you have profile pictures that you earn, and I'm sure in the future there'll be more cosmetics and stuff like that, but for now it's just profile pictures and then the card packs and tickets, and that's amazing. And then one of the biggest things as well for this change is the now skill rating. So now there's a different skill rating for drafting and for constructed, and when you play it, it's just a shown MMR pretty much. You have ranks from 1 to 75, and you can't go down a rank, so you have your MMR is technically hidden, and you know, there are these skill ratings from 1 to 75 that show you pretty much where you are in the MMR, and you can't technically go down in the MMR, so it shows you the highest, and it's seasons, so it'll reset you know, in a couple months whenever they do the new season. And overall, that's really all the update did. And you know, it's making it sound like they didn't do much, but I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the huge thing about it for me, and the reason I think it's so impactful not only for Artifact but for the gaming industry as a whole, is we have a huge company. I mean, Valve is a huge company, and although they are kind of different from most other game companies because they don't have to listen to shareholders, and you know, they can kind of make their own decisions, and just the way Valve is just such a unique company in itself, and they're not perfect, but I appreciate them. It does feel like they try to make their games good. I mean, you look at Dota 2, you look at CSGO, you know, TF2 is kind of like, feel sad about TF2, but a lot of their games, you could feel proud to say you play one of those games, and you really could say that the devs truly care about the game, and I'm starting to feel it now with Artifact. Especially, we'll have to see how the future of it goes, we'll have to see how the future of the updates go, we'll have to see how the future expansions go and everything like that, but Artifact is in it for the long haul, and we did have a little bit of a, you know, kind of not the best launch, but Valve is clearly trying to make things right, and overall, this update fixed probably about 99% of the issues people had with the game. I mean, I overall liked the game, and I liked it enough. I was still playing it during this little 3-week period where everybody thought the game was dying already. I was still playing it just because I love the game so much, but it's so much more refreshing to play now. And I think, unfortunately, if this was the game, the way the game launched at the beginning, I mean, it would have been a huge way. I mean, this game would have blown up already. But it's Valve. They will constantly keep updating it. They will constantly keep pumping resources in it. And I think they care, especially with the whole change of their entire philosophy, not only in the card balance, but in the being able to have the account level and earning packs and stuff like that. So there's so many changes, and overall I think it makes Artifact such a better game, and it's nice to have, you know, see a company just change the philosophy of their game. But overall, if you've played Artifact, if you've watched people play Artifact, anything like that, if you have any opinions about it, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear them all. And if you guys enjoyed this video, then consider leaving a like down below and subscribing to see more content. New videos come out every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And like always, guys, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day.